Hey y'all, welcome to Stivers Homestead. I'm Zach.
I'm Jen.
And we have a big day in this kitchen. But it's starting on a good note.
Yes.
With the first thing that we have. What is the first one?
Finally, the first tomato.
First tomato. So now it is for breakfast. We're going to have us a tomato sandwich. We'll show you how we do ours. But we had a huge harvest and we have got to get to preserving.
Yes.
Because we have our non-GMO corn coming this weekend. So we need to take care of our harvest so we can have that corn to preserve next week.
Yeah, big day.
Big day. All right, show them that beet.
There she is.
That's a pretty good one for the first one. I believe it's a granny cantrell. We're not good with markers, but I know I planted a bunch of those in that area, and it kind of looks like one.
So excited.
Very excited. And we had one cherry tomato, right? A Roselle. Those are so good. But here is all the green beans. That's a bunch of them. Second round of green beans. More cucumbers, more zucchini and squash, bunch of onions, and then we did more flowers. Is that it?
I think so.
I think so too. But big harvest. So our goal here today is to make some pickles and then also get these beans snapped because we still have some left over from the last harvest and we're going to be canning our green beans. So if you've never made pickles or you never canned green beans, this video is for you.
Yes, those two things are priority and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, we need to do some of the zucchini and squash, but it'll last a little bit longer than everything else. We'll probably we might get the freeze dryer going and just start getting around to that going too. And we also got another gallon of milk from our cow and then all of these eggs. So she just put up, actually y'all saw in one of the previous videos, how many dozen, like 21 dozen eggs?
21 dozen.
I would say we probably got another 18 dozen eggs right there. So that's fine. Yeah. But we'll get those cleaned up. We might, if some of those are nice, might start our water glassing again. Because we are pretty much out of the ones we water glassed last winter. So just fresh food everywhere on these counters. All right, so how we do our tomato sammies. So now Jen likes just the tomato sammy. I like a little meat with mine.
I do too.
Preferably bacon.
Yeah.
A nice crispy bacon, basically having a BT, not a BLT, just BT. But it all starts with this guy, showing you mayonnaise.
Okay, so you can make your own, you can use Miracle Whip, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm gonna use Duke's because it's the best, so don't come at me. And then we'll use our tomato. We've already got some garlic on this bread, so it's like a toasted garlic bread. And then this is my favorite way to do it, is to put ham on it. So it's not bacon, but it gives you that, like the salty ham taste.
Yes.
And that, to me, is the perfect tomato sandwich.
Perfection.
And there's nothing you can do to change it.
Well, okay, so here's the next level. Mayo amount, because that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Are you both bread, one bread?
I'm one bread. And not much, because we all know I don't like wet food. I like the taste and the twang of the Dukes, but I don't want it to get mushy.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite. I'm both pieces of bread. Still, I don't want a whole bunch on each side, but I am on both pieces of bread. A little salt and pepper.
Yes.
And then here's the most important part to make the sandwich taste better. Like if you don't do this, it doesn't taste near as good, does it, babe?
No.
You gotta cut it in half.
And don't dare try this with a store-bought tomato.
Look
won't be
at
good.
that.
It's perfect.
How was it?
Amazing.
Amazing. Been worth the wait.
Yeah, I feel like I could go back to bed and just end the day.
Okay, we must resist our tiredness after that delicious tomato sandwich and get to work. We are starting with the pickles, so tell them what kind of pickles and what we're doing.
So we're gonna do refrigerator dill pickles, specifically because I have a lot of fresh dill out there that needs to be used. I don't want it to go to waste. I don't really like dill pickles, but everybody else in the family does. So we're gonna do it in a gallon jar, and then they'll be refrigerator pickles, and they'll last in the refrigerator for a couple months or so, but they'll be eaten before then. So first step is to get them all washed up and cut.
Yep. So if you are getting used to canning or starting canning and you're just like, man, I don't really want to tackle that, refrigerator pickles are always a nice solid choice to do as long as you eat them up. They're not going to last a year like a canned pickle would, and they do need to be refrigerated, but it's nice to get those cucumbers off your counter pretty quickly. So let's get at it.
That turned out to be a whole lot more than I thought it was going to be, per usual. So I'm going to start by putting all the whole ones in here and then seeing how much that fills up and then how many spears we have left.
Taking up a lot of room already.
Yeah, it is.
So me and the kids really like them whole and big like that. So that's why we have quite a few of them that are there. But we also made some spears that Jen did. But the whole ones, I don't know. There's just something about it. We did a whole bunch of fermented ones like that last year. If I can remember, I'll try to find that video and post it down below if you're curious about fermenting these things, which was really good too. That did a lot.
Yeah, it's also perfect for summer because they're whole pickles, and whenever you do like a cookout or a picnic, you just bring the whole jar out. Everybody can get a pickle.
Exactly. It's pretty cool. So that took up a whole gallon basically, and then that's probably at least probably another gallon of spears too. All right, well here we go. One thing too I wanted to mention, if you have canned pickles in the past, you'll notice that we did not set them in salt. We did not set them overnight to pull all that moisture out. That's because we're not canning. When you can, that loses that crispness and that crunch. So that's why you want to pull all that moisture out and have that salt brine that it's sitting in overnight and then washing them off real good. But doing it this way, you're going to keep your crunch because you're not technically cooking them like you do when you can. All right, so that gallon got full, and then Jen had this awesome idea. Because these are our first cucumbers we had. So we've been buying pickles because the kids love them. And she, whatever reason,
one of our children, I know which one it was, ate all the pickles and left the juice. And immediately I was like, really? But then I was like, I could probably use that for like some good chicken or something. So I remembered the juice was in there, so I just took the leftovers and stuffed them in there. And those will be quick pickles. We'll probably eat those tomorrow. Yeah,
they'll be the first ones. That's awesome, and it worked out perfect. It looks good, doesn't it? So we're gathering the ingredients, but while I'm doing that, we wanted to pause because it requires apple cider vinegar. And if y'all have been watching for a while, you know we made our own apple cider vinegar. And we actually haven't had a need to use it.
I've been using it a little bit at a time.
Gotcha. Well, this is the first big one. And y'all, it smells amazing. It smells like kombucha. She had said that, which is pretty cool. But it's different, you know, having real apple cider vinegar. She said you could probably cure cancer with it.
Yeah.
With this stuff right here.
What is it?
It splashed a little.
All right, we got our dill. That's all from our garden. We chopped up our garlic, which is all from our garden. And now we've got our cucumbers in, and we're going to put our onions in, and then our dill.
So while she's doing that, she's putting half an onion in each one. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the ingredient list that you need. So I'm going to go slow. Get ready for it. You need dill. You need canning and pickling salt or kosher salt. Garlic. Onions. Mustard seed. Black peppercorns. Sugar. Red pepper flakes if you want a little spice to them. And then apple cider vinegar.
Okay, this is for 1 gallon. So we're going to do 4 cups of apple cider vinegar, 4 cups of water, 4 cloves of garlic, 4 tablespoons of pickling salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of black peppercorns, 2 teaspoons of mustard seeds, and then red pepper flakes is kind of to your liking. We're going to do about half a teaspoon. Now we're going to turn it on, and we're just going to let it simmer. We really just want the sugar to dissolve and everything come together.
Once everything has dissolved and you've had it good and stirred up, go ahead and turn off the heat because you want it to cool down before you put it in with the cucumbers. All right, once it's warm or cooled down, you want to pour it in the jar. And there it is. Look how pretty that is. Nice. All right, there you go, folks. That is 2 gallons of delicious, beautiful refrigerator pickles. So we're gonna stick them in the fridge now. I know it's tempting, but try to wait at least 3 to 5 days because that's when that flavor is really gonna soak into those pickles. A little bit longer for your whole ones. But then after that, just enjoy. Dishes are done, area's cleaned up. Now it's time for green beans, huh? Yep. So what she does is she gets them all in the sink and washes them up real good, and then we get handfuls at a time and we take to the porch or whatever and do some snapping. One thing I did forget to mention, what type of cucumbers and green beans we're using. So the cucumbers that we did for this were the National Pickling Cucumbers from Haas Tools. And then our green beans are 2 different ones. We have, it's the Kentucky, is it Blue Lake? Kentucky Blue Lake Bush?
Kentucky, yeah.
It's not the Pole
It's
Bean.
not Kentucky, it's just Blue Lake.
Blue Lake Bush Bean. And then also the Green Blaze Bush Bean, which is a newer variety. I think this is the 2nd season that Haas has had them. We like those Green Blaze ones. They are stringless. They just, even when they get too big, they're still perfect. And y'all know what I mean by some of those green bean varieties. If they get too big, they get too beany and stringy and just dry. Not those green blades. We're really impressed with those, and so that's the most of what's in there.
Okay, so these are actually last week's green beans. We have been eating on them, and then I told you we would basically wait a week and then see if we had eaten them all or what we needed to do. So they're still in a bowl in the fridge, and we are going to freeze dry them. So we love our green beans freeze dried. It's so easy. It's so much simpler and faster than canning them. Although we do love our canned green beans too. So I'm gonna see how much these trays will hold and then what we have left over.
So freeze drying green beans, like we have realized some of our favorite things to freeze dry are green beans, corn, carrots, things that you would find in a mixed vegetable situation. And the reason for that is that seems to be a common thing that we put in soups. It's a very popular thing she does in her awesome chicken pot pie recipe. And all that stuff, when it's freeze dried, it is absorbing back all of that delicious broth that you're doing in for a soup or whatever the flavor is that you're doing instead of just water. So we really like it in that aspect because it just makes the vegetable itself more flavorful.
Yeah. And y'all, we love canning, we do. But on days like today and tomorrow where we have more produce coming in, this is just easier than like sterilizing jars, getting the canner out. We don't have to sit and watch it. We put it in and it's going to do it all itself and be done probably in a day or two.
Yeah. When we got the freeze dryer, it was for these kind of purposes right here. When there's just so much produce on your countertops and you're like, there's no way I'm going to get through all this. It is another added benefit to the preserving aspect to where you can like, all right, well, here goes a big chunk of it into the freeze dryer. Well, then we can focus on other things and just kind of helps your sanity.
Definitely takes the pressure off a little bit.
It does. It definitely does because it does all the work.
Yes.
And while we're over here doing this, we turn around and here's Scuba Steve herself.
She's ready for the cruise.
Yeah, so we go on our cruise in 14 days-ish. And so we got some snorkeling gear and things like that. All right, it's guest time. You know, we love doing that. How long do you think, babe?
36 hours.
I was going to say the exact same thing, 36 hours. Put your guesses down below what you think or how long you think it'll take that freeze dryer to freeze dry the green beans.
All right, I'm working on snapping these beans. I've gotten quite a bit done. Still have this bowl, and then the sink still has quite a bit, but we're working on that. In the meantime, we've got our onions that we grew in this new Pepsi crate. We actually got this in an auction, and we really, really like it. And it came home, and we saw the onions, and it was just perfect. So we put some paper towels in the bottom, put our onions in here. I'm going to cover it with a towel so that it's not in the light or anything like that. And we're not going to long-term storage these. We're just going to grab them when we need them. And they're going to sit here and cure until we're ready to start using them.
So it is much later in the day. I don't even remember exactly where we left y'all off at, but we just had a bomb.com dinner. So we had we're down to a couple steaks off T-bone that we had processed. I don't know, when was that? When did we process it? 2 years ago? Last year?
Yeah, no, definitely 2 years.
Yeah, so one cow lasts that long for a family of 4.5.
Well, and the amount of ground beef that we have is astronomical because we told y'all it would last us for 3 years. It's almost been 3 years, and I think it's going to last for more than 3 years.
Yeah, I think so too. So we had a flank steak and a skirt steak. Not the greatest, but we marinated and all that good stuff. Put it on the Blackstone. We cut a bunch of squash, zucchini, all the stuff that we had from the garden that's just sitting on the counter. Cut it up, Blackstoned it up. She made some rice, fresh green beans. We just had, what'd you call it, steak bowl?
Yeah.
Steak bowl. But
Good.
It was really good. But I came on here because I wanted her to tell you all what she's doing. So you all remember we used that apple cider vinegar that was homemade. Well, there's something that happens in homemade apple cider vinegar, and I want her to tell you all about it and what she's doing with it.
Hopefully you can see it in here, but when you do your own apple cider vinegar, or any apple cider vinegar, it makes what's called a mother. A mother is in apple cider vinegar. It's also a SCOBY. It's in alcohol. It's in all kinds of things. So I didn't want to throw it away. I wanted to keep it because that takes a really long time to make by yourself if you're trying to do it. So I put just a little bit of apple cider vinegar in. I brewed some organic black tea, and I put 1/4 cup of sugar in that. I'm letting that cool down, and then I'm going to feed my mother with the hopes of getting kombucha. So then I'll let it sit on the counter for about a month, and then we'll have kombucha. We haven't done kombucha in a really long time.
It's been a while.
But we have videos on it, and we love it. So that's what I'm doing.
And just to add, if you've never heard those terms ever before in your life, kombucha is a gut health fermented drink.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I want to make sure I said that right. And that like I said, it's just, you would see it in like Aldi's or like a Whole Foods. Like I know they have it bottled up and set up, but it's very easy to make at home. And like my mother, who's not huge on like the garden fresh stuff and different things like that, she swears by the kombucha. She actually hated when Jen kind of just stopped kind of making it because we had all this other stuff going on, because it's so great for your digestive system and just keeping you cleansed and keeping you clean. So I'm excited you're making it too.
It is cooled down now, our tea, and we've got our sugar mixed in and dissolved. And now we're just going to pour this in here and feed our mother, which will turn into a SCOBY, and then we'll have kombucha. We're going to put it up here in our dark cabinet and let that sit for about a month and not touch it, and it'll be fine.
One thing that I always think is so cool is how when that comes back out, it's gonna be like a, what do you call it, a SCOBY hotel.
Yeah.
And like the SCOBYs will be this thick, where you just start with one thin one, you can like layer each one off. It's pretty neat. Like if you buy them off Amazon, because I think Amazon sells SCOBY, or somebody does.
Dehydrated.
Yeah, but it's from a SCOBY hotel that's probably in somebody's pantry that looks just like that. So it's kind of neat. But these are all just ideas to like perk your interest to start researching more, which we have dedicated videos for all of these. So I know we're not giving you every detail here. This is a whole preserving video, but we will have plenty of them in our playlist when it comes to the canning and preserving down below.
Yeah, it's also a way to not waste anything. It's just the homestead cycle of keeping everything going.
That's right.